Unfortunately, it's looking really bad for Lil Baby, and as I'm going to show you, the police have already been looking very closely into his operation, and this is just going to be the cherry on top, unfortunately, for prosecutors that have been coming for 4 p.m.
Lil Baby caught a shooting case, and the target was an NFL player named Keion White. That's not a rumor. That's where things stand right now. He came out publicly, trying to get ahead of the story and clear his name. But here's the problem. The feds might already be moving on this. Before we get into what he actually said, you need the full picture, because this situation is out of control. And honestly, this could be the thing that ends Lil Baby's career for good. Now stick around, because the details coming out of this are way deeper than what the headlines are giving you. Strip clubs, NFL money, federal eyes watching, and street politics, all crashing into each other on one night. It's a mess. So let me start here. If you don't follow football, you probably don't know Keion White. This is not some random person off the street. He's 27, plays defensive end, stands 6'4", weighs 285 pounds of straight muscle. This man makes millions of dollars to hit people as hard as he can for a living. The San Francisco 49ers had just traded for this guy from the New England Patriots back in October, and he was having a breakout season, a real one. We're talking about a professional athlete who grinded his entire life to reach the league, making generational money, living the kind of life most people only dream about. And in one single night, all of that nearly disappeared over some rap world nonsense. What makes this hit even harder is that Keion White is not a street guy at all. He's college educated, keeps his head down, stays focused on football, and stays out of trouble. So the fact that he ended up in the middle of something like this, that alone tells you how insane this story gets. Let me walk you through exactly how the whole thing unfolded. February 9th, 2025, the Super Bowl just wrapped up and San Francisco is going off. The city hosted the biggest sporting event in the country, and every corner has a party popping. Keion White, a defensive end pulling in millions, decides to throw his own private Super Bowl celebration at a spot called Dia Lounge on Mission Street. Now here's where things shift. This was not a casual get-together. This was a full-on strip club scene. Topless women, cash flying everywhere, the works. And that's not speculation. That comes straight from the police report. When officers walked in, they described finding multiple women in barely any clothing, picking dollar bills up off the floor, like a scene ripped right out of a movie. Some of these women were completely topless, professional adult entertainers. This was a full strip club experience behind closed doors. Now here's where the story starts to turn. Lil Baby had performed in San Francisco the night before as part of his tour. Show's done. Normal move would be to head back to the hotel and call it a night. But that's not what happened. Instead, this man wanted to keep things going, and he ended up at Keion White's private party. The problem? He wasn't invited. None of them were. According to the police report, Lil Baby and his crew were upstairs on the main floor of the club, but they wanted access to Keion White's exclusive event happening downstairs. And you already know how this plays out when rappers try to walk into an NFL player's private section uninvited. Somebody's pride is about to take a hit. So think about this scene for a second. Downstairs, you've got Keion White, 6'4", 285 pounds, a man who gets paid to physically dominate people on a football field, surrounded by his friends and family enjoying his night. Then here comes Lil Baby, maybe 5'8" on a good day, rolling in with his entourage, trying to push into this man's private space without an invitation. We don't know the exact words that were exchanged during the confrontation, but witnesses told police it got heated, and it got heated fast. One witness specifically said Lil Baby's crew was being aggressive. They were trying to force their way into the private section. And on the other side of it, witnesses said Keion White wasn't moving. He stood his ground and didn't back down from anybody. Now think about where both of these guys are mentally. Lil Baby is a famous rapper. He walks into places and gets the VIP treatment handed to him. So being told no probably felt like disrespect. But from Keion White's side, this is his party, his money, his space, and these people were not on the list. Two massive egos, neither one willing to give an inch, and that's exactly where everything falls apart. One witness told police the argument was escalating so fast that he actually went upstairs to grab the manager, hoping someone could calm things down. But while he was gone, he heard 2 gunshots from the lower level. When he came back downstairs, it was pure chaos, people screaming, scrambling for the exits. Keion White was on the ground, bullet wound in his left ankle, blood everywhere. What had been a celebration seconds earlier was now a crime scene. And here's where it gets even wilder. A different witness said she didn't hear 2 shots. She heard 4. When police arrived at 4:06 in the morning, they recovered 2 different shell casings on the scene. One was a 9mm. The other was a .45 caliber. That detail is huge. It means either someone brought two different weapons or two separate people were firing. Either way, this was not an accident. This was real, dangerous, violent stuff happening inside that building.
Window is like right by my bed, and so I saw lights. Like I think that's why I woke up at first. I think I kind of knew that it wasn't like the most safe place, but honestly, I mean, like, it kind of seems par for the course. Like I'm not like entirely like, how could this happen here?
Now here's a detail that could change everything. Police recovered an abandoned cell phone at the scene. Nobody claimed it. And you better believe federal investigators are going to tear that phone apart. Fingerprints, DNA, call history, text messages, every single thing stored on it. That one phone could end up being the piece of evidence that brings this whole case crashing down on somebody. So picture what officers walked into when they showed up at 4:06 in the morning. They get the call, shots fired. They pull up to this lounge, and the scene is absolute madness. Partygoers still trying to push their way out the door. Women sweeping up cash off the ground and blood on the floor, right where Keion White had been lying after taking that bullet. One officer actually wrote this in his report. As I entered, I saw numerous scantily clad females picking up dollar bills that were strewn all over the floor. Some of the females were topless and appeared to have been adult entertainers. Just sit with that image for a second. You're a police officer responding to a shooting at 4 in the morning, and you walk into gunshot residue, half-naked women, and dollar bills scattered across the floor. That is not a normal night on the job. And here's what tells you everything about Keion White as a person. When police asked him directly, "Who shot you?" this man said nothing. Didn't give a name, didn't point fingers, kept his mouth completely shut. The police report states it clearly. When asked who had shot him, White was uncooperative. He's an NFL player earning millions of dollars, and he still wouldn't talk. Make of that what you will. Now let me explain why this situation is so much more dangerous for Lil Baby than it looks on the surface. This is not his first time dealing with law enforcement, not even close. The feds have had their eyes on him for a long time. We're talking years of surveillance, investigation, and quietly building a case. Lil Baby has been trying to stay ahead of a RICO case ever since Atlanta District Attorney Fannie Willis made it public that she was targeting him and his entire 4PF crew. And this wasn't casual attention. There's a whole task force assigned to investigating his organization. Federal agencies don't just randomly pick someone to go after. They've been tracking his movements, watching his associates, going through his social media, even analyzing lyrics in his music for evidence. The files they have on this man are probably massive. And let me tell you about the moment that really put him on the radar, because this one is wild. Lil Baby actually went and shot a music video in his rival's neighborhood, enemy territory. That's like walking straight into a lion's den, wearing a stake around your neck, and then posting the whole thing on Instagram for the world to see. So Lil Baby and his crew roll up to a block in Atlanta where they have real serious beef. This is not a neighborhood you visit casually. People have died over this rivalry. And instead of keeping his distance like anyone with common sense would, this man brings cameras, lights, a full production crew, and starts filming a music video like he runs the place. The footage showed Lil Baby and his guys flashing cash, throwing up gang signs, and openly disrespecting everything that neighborhood represents. They were taunting their rivals on their own turf, basically saying we can show up whenever we want, and there's nothing you can do about it. But that's not how any of this works. You don't walk onto somebody's block, humiliate them publicly, and expect nothing to come back your way. The other side saw that video, and it went viral. Their reputation was being dragged. Their territory was being mocked on camera for millions of people to watch. They weren't going to let that stand. So they responded. They came through Lil Baby's neighborhood, armed and ready to send a message. But here's where this story turns devastating. They didn't hit Lil Baby. They didn't get anyone from his crew. Instead, two kids who had absolutely nothing to do with any of this got caught in the crossfire and lost their lives. A 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. Two children gone because of a music video meant to prove a point. These were somebody's kids, probably just walking home or hanging out in their own neighborhood, and they were killed over a music video.
Tonight at 11, police are working to try to find out who opened fire on the set of a music video reportedly featuring Atlanta's very own Lil Baby.
The shooting happened just before 5 o'clock tonight. There is a map right here on your screen of where this all took place on Verbena Street. That's in the Dixie Hills neighborhood in the northwest part of the city.
3 men were shot just feet behind me in this parking lot. One shot in the neck, another man shot in the back, the third victim shot in the arm.
A music video. The families were destroyed. The community was furious. And the feds looked at the whole situation and connected the dots real fast. That video directly provoked a retaliatory shooting, and 2 minors died because of it. That's the moment they started building a case that Lil Baby's actions led to those children's deaths. Authorities stopped treating him like just a rapper. They started calling him the leader of a criminal organization.
Those suspects, as far as the 3 victims, they are expected to survive. As of this hour, Lil Baby's team has not commented on the shooting.
The argument was simple. That music video was a gang-related act that triggered a murder, and that made him liable for the outcome. Then, the full federal machine kicked in. They went through every single person in his circle. Criminal records, social media activity, financial documents. They got wiretaps running, surveillance cameras rolling, and informants feeding them information. The entire federal playbook, wide open. And if you don't understand how serious a RICO case is, let me put it this way. We're talking about 20 years to life in prison if the charges stick. That's not a slap on the wrist. That's your entire future disappearing. The feds also went after his music, his actual lyrics. They started treating every bar he ever rapped about violence, drugs, or street life, not as entertainment, but as confession. Every song became a piece of evidence feeding into their criminal enterprise case. Now Lil Baby is not a dumb person. When he felt the pressure building, he started making calculated moves to put distance between himself and the street image. First thing he did, shut down his label, 4PF. That stood for 4 Pockets Full. But the feds weren't looking at it as a record label anymore. They were treating it like a criminal organization. So he killed it. Then he launched something new, a label called Glass Window. And that name was very deliberate. Think about what glass represents. Transparency. You can see right through it, nothing hidden. That was the entire message he was trying to send. He was basically telling the world, I'm done with that life. Everything I'm doing now is clean, legitimate, out in the open. But it wasn't just the label name. He overhauled his whole public persona, gone were the posts with weapons and drugs. Instead, he started showing off business moves, charity work, time with his family. Goal was obvious, and he wanted people to stop seeing a street rapper and start seeing a reformed businessman who had turned his life around. Lil Baby also started cutting people loose, the ones some call crash dummies, the guys in your circle who make reckless decisions and bring heat down on everybody around them. He cleaned house, got rid of the people still too deep in the streets, started surrounding himself with a different kind of crew. Legitimate business managers, accountants, attorneys, people who understood the legal system and could help him stay out of trouble. He put money into real estate, restaurants, other legal ventures, all designed to show that his income was coming from clean sources. On paper, the transformation looked solid, but here's the reality of the situation. You can rename your label, you can swap out your entire team, you can hire every high-powered lawyer money can buy, and none of it matters if the feds already have you circled. Once federal investigators lock on to someone, that kind of attention doesn't just fade because you changed the logo and started posting family photos. It doesn't work like that. And what happened in San Francisco? That just handed them exactly what they needed. Fresh evidence, a new incident, more leverage to build on everything they've already been putting together. This shooting might end up being the thing that seals Lil Baby's fate for good. When you shoot an NFL player, this stops being a local matter real fast. You're not dealing with one police department anymore. You've got multiple agencies, multiple jurisdictions, and a mountain of resources all pointed in one direction. Start with the NFL itself. That's a multi-billion-dollar machine, and they treat their players like high-value assets. When one of them takes a bullet, they don't just sit around waiting for local cops to figure it out. The league has its own security division, its own investigators, and they coordinate directly with law enforcement to make sure somebody pays for it. Then there's the San Francisco 49ers. This organization just traded real assets to acquire Keion White, and now their investment is potentially damaged because of drama that had nothing to do with football. They want answers, they want accountability, and they have the money and the connections to push for both. On top of all that, the mayor of San Francisco got personally involved. Mayor Daniel Lurie made a public statement. Any violent incident in our city is unacceptable, and I'm hoping Keion recovers quickly. I've spoken with SFPD and San Francisco 49ers leadership. When the mayor is on the phone with NFL executives about your case, that is not going away quietly. But here's the part that changes everything. This crosses state lines. Lil Baby is based in Atlanta. The shooting happened in California, and it involved the NFL, which is interstate commerce by definition. That combination automatically opens the door for federal jurisdiction, meaning the FBI can step in. And once the FBI is involved, the entire game changes. The feds can take this shooting and connect it directly to the RICO investigation they've already been building. They can argue it's not an isolated incident. It's part of a pattern. They can paint Lil Baby as the head of a criminal organization that operates across state lines, engages in violence, and threatens public safety. They can say this shooting was done to protect his reputation, to send a message, to maintain street credibility. Every single one of those angles fits perfectly inside a RICO framework. From a legal perspective, Lil Baby is staring down two separate nightmares: criminal charges and civil lawsuits. Either one alone could end him. Together, it's devastating. On the criminal side, he's potentially facing attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy charges, weapons charges, and RICO on top of all of it. In California, attempted murder alone carries 15 years to life. Stack the weapons and conspiracy charges on top, and you're looking at decades behind bars. But the civil side might actually hit harder financially. Think about this. Keion White is an NFL player earning millions every single year. If he never plays again because of this shooting, that's a massive lawsuit. Lost earnings, medical bills, pain and suffering, punitive damage. We're talking about a claim that could reach enormous numbers, and it doesn't stop with him. The San Francisco 49ers traded valuable assets to bring Keion White onto that roster. If his career is finished, they're going to want compensation for that lost investment too. The total lawsuit exposure here could easily reach tens of millions of dollars. So now Lil Baby is scrambling. Full damage control mode. He had to come out publicly and say something because his entire career is hanging by a thread. But here's the trap. Anything he says can be used against him in court. If he denies involvement and surveillance footage tells a different story, that's lying to the public and potentially obstruction of justice. If he admits he was there but claims self-defense, he's still confessing to shooting an NFL player. If he stays completely silent, everyone assumes guilt. There is no good option here. His lawyers are almost certainly telling him to shut his mouth and let the legal process play out behind closed doors. Meanwhile, his PR people are screaming that he needs to speak up before he loses everything. His image, his fan base, his brand. Those two strategies are the exact opposite of each other. And he's stuck in the middle trying to figure out which voice to listen to. And the industry is already making moves. Record labels don't want their name attached to someone who shot a professional football player. Streaming platforms could start pulling his catalog. Concert venues might cancel upcoming dates. Radio stations could quietly stop putting him in rotation. The dominoes are lining up. And here's what people aren't talking about enough. The NFL has far more money and far more influence than any rapper on the planet. If that organization decides to make life difficult for Lil Baby, they absolutely have the power to do it. They can lean on streaming services. They can pressure radio networks. That's a fight he cannot win. They have the ability to make sure this man never recovers professionally. And we've watched this exact thing happen before with other artists who caught serious cases. Their music quietly disappears from playlists. Concerts get pulled. Endorsement deals evaporate overnight. And the industry just keeps moving like they never existed. They become a warning story and nothing more. But the legal and business side isn't even the full picture here. There's a whole layer of street politics making this worse. The Bay Area is not Atlanta, and Lil Baby may have seriously underestimated what that means. San Francisco and Oakland operate on their own terms, their own players, their own rules, their own history. You don't just show up from out of town, cause chaos, and walk away clean. That region has a long track record of not letting outsiders disrespect them without consequences. Lil Baby might carry weight back in Atlanta, but out in the Bay, he's just another rapper from somewhere else who came through and created a problem. The streets in that part of California have long memories, and he may have made enemies he doesn't even realize exist yet. There's also the community angle. The Bay Area has deep local pride, and NFL players are treated like hometown heroes in their cities. When someone from the outside comes in and shoots one of those guys, that's not just a crime. That's personal to an entire community. It creates a kind of hostility that doesn't go away. So where does Lil Baby go from here? Based on everything out there, it's not looking good at all. The feds most likely already have enough from the Atlanta investigation alone to bring RICO charges. The San Francisco shooting just made their job easier. Now, they can argue that Lil Baby runs a criminal organization operating across multiple states, engaging in violent acts and putting public safety at risk. That is textbook RICO. And here's the number that should terrify them. RICO cases carry a 95% conviction rate. When federal prosecutors decide to bring those charges, they almost never lose. My prediction? Within 6 months, federal indictments are coming down, and it won't just be Lil Baby. They're going to sweep up his entire circle. Once RICO charges land, it's a chain reaction. One after another, everybody falls. The feds are going to offer the smaller names plea deals in exchange for testimony against Lil Baby. They're going to use wiretaps, surveillance footage, social media posts, lyrics from his own songs, financial records. Every single piece of information they've collected over years of watching him. Here's how this probably plays out step by step. First, he gets arrested on the California charges connected to the shooting. While he's fighting that case, the feds drop the RICO indictment out of Atlanta. Then they pressure him to cooperate and give up other people in exchange for a reduced sentence. But here's the cold truth about RICO cases. Even if you flip, you're still doing serious time. The mandatory minimums in federal court are brutal, and the feds don't hand out light sentences. Get-out-of-jail-free cards don't exist just because you cooperated. If Lil Baby goes to trial and loses, he could be looking at life. If he takes a plea deal, the floor is probably 15 to 20 years minimum. Either path leads to the same place. His career is finished, and the best years of his life get spent inside a federal penitentiary. And that's the part that really hits different. This man had everything. The talent was real. The money was real. Millions of fans, platinum records, generational wealth sitting right in front of him. He could have gone down as one of the greatest rappers of his entire generation, but he couldn't walk away from the streets. He just couldn't do it. Couldn't separate the music from the lifestyle. This whole situation exposes the impossible contradiction of trying to live in both worlds at the same time. You can't rap about gang ties and 4 pockets full in your music and then be shocked when federal prosecutors take you at your word. That's exactly what they did. They listened to the lyrics and built a case around them. The streets don't care about Grammy nominations. They don't care about streaming numbers or platinum plaques or how much money is in your account. The streets always come to collect, one way or another. And it always happens when you got the most to lose. Now this man is staring down potentially decades in federal prison. His career likely finished. His family is going to pay the price for this too. And over what? Beef with an NFL player at a strip club. That's what all of this comes down to. So I want to hear from you. Do you think Lil Baby has any chance of beating these charges? Or is it already over for him? Should he have left the streets behind the moment he made it big? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you've been rocking with this breakdown, subscribe to Rap Uncovered right now. We're putting out new videos every single day, and this story is far from done. As new details come out, indictments, court dates, witness testimony, we're going to cover all of it. Because what we might be watching right now is the biggest downfall in hip-hop in years. A potential life sentence hanging over one of the biggest rappers in the game. That's not a headline you scroll past. Stay safe out there. The streets don't give back what they take from you. Doesn't matter how rich you are, doesn't matter how famous you get. Nobody is untouchable.